Aquarius, welcome to your December 2025 astrology forecast. As the month begins, we have Sun, Venus, and Mars traveling through Sagittarius, all in your 11th house. You may be feeling very adventurous and free, especially related to your social networks, social life. Your dreams and aspirations can take on a tone of exploratory energy. You may want to explore different options, different friend groups. You may especially be feeling an attraction to diverse groups or people, culture, or experiences that expand your mind, identity, and ambitions. We also have Venus sextile to Pluto, which perfects on December 1st. Venus in your 11th house perfecting a sextile to Pluto in your first house means that your desire, appetite intensifies. There can be an alignment of where your life is heading and what you love to do and what you actually really enjoy doing. You may be craving travel or foreign opportunities around this time as well. There's just a sense of healthy obsessions related to self-development, growth, and wanting to understand yourself. Now, Venus is also separating from an opposition to Uranus and separating from a trine to Neptune. And these aspects perfected on November 30th. With Uranus on the cusp of your 4th, 5th house and Neptune on the cusp of your 2nd and 3rd house, you may have been longing for different kinds of fun activities, hobbies, or creative expressions. You're just being pulled to some sort of unconventional, different, or unique ways of expressing yourself, whether that's related to your personal sense of style, aesthetics, or just, the things that you love to do. Neptune and Uranus working together is always rebelling against what's considered normal or standard or conventional. Your imagination and fantasy may be heightened, and you might be pulled towards artistic, creative, or spiritual pursuits around this time as well. Venus does move pretty quickly, so Venus will move away from these aspects to the outer planets, including a sextile with Pluto by December 4th. December 4th, we also have our full moon in Gemini, and this is falling in your 5th house related to children, creative self-expression, recreational activities. Full moon in Gemini can illuminate information or data related to the themes of the 5th house, or possibly even your friendship circles, friends, or work. Both Gemini and Sagittarius, where the full moon opposition is happening, is ruled by Jupiter in Cancer in your 6th house, which can talk about, day-to-day work tasks, responsibilities, daily routines. Since Jupiter is retrograde moving through your 6th house, you may be thinking about doing your day-to-day things a little differently based on new information. Now, the full moon is also making square aspects to the nodes. We have South Node in Virgo in your 8th house and North Node in Pisces in your 2nd house. And these energies are typically related to finances, whether it's your personal finances or combined joint finances with a spouse or a partner, or any sort of debt you have or you owe to other people or institutions. So there is a bit of changes that's happening with the mutable signs being involved in a grand cross such as this. These energies can also speak of some sort of karma or karmic debt needing to be repaid. There's usually a past and present conflict that arises when we see strong aspects to the nodes. The nodes can also speak of dualities, especially, when we're also speaking about an opposition between the sun and moon, the masculine versus the feminine, the conscious versus the subconscious, the material and ego versus spiritual and emotional. So there can be dualistic energies related to finances or children or friendship circles, something about information, data, that forces you to some sort of new conclusions. On this day, we do also have a grand water trine between Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. Mercury is moving through Scorpio in your 10th house, Jupiter in Cancer in your 6th house, Saturn in Pisces in your 2nd house. So Mercury speaks of, truth or mental clarity around your work or career. Jupiter can be related to nurture, hope, or faith, but it can also give perspective or wisdom, higher sense of insights and meaning to your day-to-day work duties, tasks, and responsibilities. Whereas Saturn in Pisces in the 2nd house can talk about patience, mature energies related to compassion, maybe even like grounded expectations or realistic perspectives related to finances and ability for you to earn. So all of this energy is kind of working together, can speak of meaningful dialogue or meaningful information, whether that's just happening internally or externally involving other people, related to money, work, responsibilities. But it is a very introspective, perceptive, and insightful energy. So you may be able to make wiser decisions or be more willing to forgive and forget something related to maybe money involving other people. That's kind of like what I'm getting for you for the full moon on December 4th. Let's move on. December 8th is a little bit more conflict-driven energy. This is when Mars in Sagittarius comes to square Saturn in Pisces. Now, Mars and Saturn are both known as the malefic planets. They typically, especially when working together in a conflict-driven aspect such as the square, can bring issues, problems to the surface. There's this sense of needing to fight or work through hurdles or having to face obstacles and challenges related to money and involving some sort of friend, social networks, associates. So there can be a lot of issues that you need to face or decisions that you need to make related to finances, but it is a bit of energy that makes you feel like you're being held back, frustrated, but it feels like it's teaching you lessons around limitations, boundaries, and it's also an energy that tests your own sense of endurance and commitment. Depending on what personal planets are involved with these transits, it will show a clear picture of exactly what it is that you may be dealing with in your personal life. Just remember that this is, a general reading for all Aquarius risings, sun, and moon. But if you don't have your personal planets, exactly at these degrees, for example, 25 of Sagittarius, 25 of Pisces, 25 degrees of Virgo or Gemini, if you don't have any planets in these positions and placements, then it may not be a big deal or transit for you. But usually when Saturn and Mars meet up in the sky like this, there is some sort of confrontations and conflict that you would need to deal with. On December 14th, we have another a bit tension-driven energy, and this is when the sun moves into about 23 degrees of Sagittarius. It comes to a close square with Saturn, but as the sun approaches Saturn, Mars at 29 degrees of Sagittarius is making an exact square aspect to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. This is happening on the cusp of your 11th and 12th house and 2nd and 3rd houses. So around this time, your efforts and your direction can feel pointless. Like there are obstacles and challenges related to social life, peers, friends, associates. It can just feel very restrictive And typically it is going to be coming from like an outside source when it's involving the 11th and 3rd houses. But when Saturn challenges Sun, it can really bring in this sense of doubt related to your personal sense of direction, but also Saturn challenges your own self-image, your ego. So you may be dealing with some sort of conflict related to how some other people make you feel. With Mars and Neptune, since Mars is our physical energy, it's our assertion, it's how we act and move about. That being squared off with Neptune, that energy feels like it kind of goes nowhere. Neptune causes a lot of, doubt, confusion, uncertainty. So there is a sense of fear related to maybe failures or just your direction in life, and if you're fighting for the right causes. So there just can be a lot of need to distinguish, between like fantasy versus intuition, or ego-driven actions or confrontations versus like inspired purpose or standing up for yourself. So you just want to be careful around this time. It can take a toll on your ego, as well as identity as well, and your physical energy. These are a bit of harsher energies. On December 19th, we have our full moon in Sagittarius, which is on the cusp of your 12th house. When we talk about new moon energy, especially in Sagittarius, we are talking about a new beginning related to a birth of a new vision. There's a new sense of meaning, an illumination of purpose related to faith, belief, and our world perspective. What's really interesting about this new moon is it is square to Saturn and Neptune. So there can be a lot of desire to do something new, but having to face realistic expectations, or having to distinguish between what is realistic versus what is idealistic. Because the 12th house can talk about the things that we set out to do, that kind of undermines our best own interest. It's the things we do to sabotage or undo ourselves. So there is this message about having to be careful related to what you want versus what is within your capabilities. You may experience illusions or fantasies around your own capabilities. Motivation, your energy and direction can blur, especially as Mars is also traveling in the 12th house. And when anything involving Saturn and a square aspect, there can be, this can be an extra sensitive or delicate and fragile time. There can be a lot of doubt, deception, and illusions, things that seem great but is not really realistic. So you just want to be careful about your own emotional deceptions and illusions. Now, there can be a major scandal as a result or some sort of spiritual setback. And this can be in regards to communication, education, or just the way you express yourself. Because the Saturn and Neptune can blur and create misunderstandings between how you're communicating and expressing yourself. Also, the new moon in Sagittarius and the Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are both, or all the planets are in signs ruled by Jupiter, which is traveling through your 6th house, and it is retrograde. So this can talk about needing to course correct or change or have a do-over related to your day-to-day tasks, your daily responsibilities, and health or fitness routines. So just be cautious. There is this sense of not everything is as it seems around this new moon. And the next day, we have Venus coming to perfect a square aspect to Saturn. And then on the 23rd, Venus is going to move forward and perfect a square aspect to Neptune. Venus talks about the things that we love. It's the way we connect socially, the way we romanticize our life or our personal sense of style, how we receive and show affection, how we fall in love, or what we find attractive. When this type of energy comes into square with Saturn and Neptune, there can be blockages in these areas or illusions in these areas. Our ability to connect or take care of ourselves can feel very restrictive. We can actually experience emotions, or they have a way of making us feel very unloved. So there can be pain or disappointment around this time. There is a lot of Saturn and Neptune squares happening this month. So you just really want to extend compassion and self-care. And with the 12th house involved in Pisces and Neptune involvement, you may turn to escapism due to the sense of void or unmet needs, emotional or spiritual needs. So, and this energy can be karmic because, again, it is, Capricorn, which is an energy ruled by Saturn. So you may be, experiencing a bit of hardship, pain or disappointment as a way of repaying some sort of debt for karmic past. Karma is actually, a big player, especially in your life, in all of our lives, but especially in your life, since Aquarius is a sign ruled by Saturn, and Saturn has a lot to do with karma, especially with Saturn in contact with Neptune, because there are forces unseen and forces that we just can't really understand, explain. But energies from far beyond our own realms tend to influence our physical and material life when Neptune is conjunct to Saturn. From the 24th till the 31st, end of the month, the Sun, Venus, and Mars are moving into Capricorn in your 12th house. Typically, I would say, Capricorn in or Mars in Capricorn is a very strong, determined energy. But in your 12th house, it kind of loses that power. 12th house is a difficult house. So you may actually start to feel a bit of or take on a bit of a pessimistic outlook in life. There can be tone of melancholy or even depression at the end of December, especially as we are, obviously moving into winter months. You can expect maybe seasonal depression, but something about your spirit and spiritual health just needs a reset. So spend a lot of time in solitude and really focus on rejuvenating your vitality. And with this, sense of rejuvenation and you doing self-care, especially emotional and spiritual, your courage and willpower can return stronger, especially as these planets get ready to move into Aquarius and into your first house. Well, Aquarius, that is all the energy forecasts I have for you for December. Happy holidays, and I hope you have a good month. Let me know how these transits play out in your life.